any talk on a lot of people keep asking it. We're getting closer. The portal opens up. I think it's the 16th, April 16th. A name I saw get
Mhm.
tossed around. This is not heavy, but Andy Jean was a name that was being thrown around. This isn't like incredible, like locked and loaded. Haven't seen his name too much. Haven't heard of it much. The wide receiver room, in a way, is pretty thick in the sense that there's a lot of the same type of guys, and so it kind of makes sense, right? When you really break it all down, if you look at the top six wide receivers according to Delator, it's Shamir DK, Eugene Wilson, Khalil Jackson, who's been balling, then Andy Mizell, and then Marcus Burke, and then I can't think of who the other one was. Maybe it was Andy G.
Probably Frazier's.
Frazier's. Yes, maybe that's
Jaquadrian.
what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so for Andy, he's just been dealing with what I believe, I could be wrong, but nagging injury. And if not nagging injury, then multiple. I mean, going back to last year, he had his moments of flashing early in the year and then was basically, I don't know if he was sidelined the rest of the way, but I don't remember him making another impact after like two appearances. And he was definitely injured with something going on in his lower body. And that's continued. I think he may have been good to go the first like two-ish days of camp, but he's been in a black jersey since. He's not
Mm,
worked out with the receivers. Past couple days, I've watched him actually in the indie period, couple days being of the practices we've seen. And he's only been able to stand there and watch like on the side and almost looking a little, I don't want to say dejected, but I'm sure he wants to be out there running those routes that those guys are running. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see him transfer only because like it's not like he's getting pushed out or pushed
okay.
down necessarily. It's just kind of a unideal situation with injuries. And truth be told, I think they're going to be buyers at receiver regardless if someone
Okay.
goes out. And obviously they're over the scholarship limit now. They still are going to have to see at least I think two players leave in order to be able to take one.
Mm,
But they're still just thin at the position in terms of pure numbers. And I agree, they do have a lot of similar guys. I think especially just by means of the high school recruiting they've done, very similar speed
size.
first,
Yep. Yep.
length kind of second. Yeah. Um, they might want someone a little bit more experienced that does something a bit different. Even DK, like he's an experienced possession receiver and he might be a dependable player in this offense, but I don't think there's really anything in his career that suggests he's like a certified number one or like kind of a number two. They might want someone that really complements Eugene Wilson well as a dynamic number 1.1B, so to speak. And I think ultimately at these positions where even they want to rely on their young talent, they want to get their young receivers, corners, offensive linemen out onto the field. They do still want to back that up with experience. And that's not to say necessarily they would take a wide receiver transfer and peg him in as the starter to take Khalil Jackson or DK's job necessarily, but someone who can play if they need a starter could step in. Um, RJ Moten's a bad example because things didn't pan out, but kind of like the similar path for him. I think that they would be willing to take someone that is capable of stepping in a pinch, not someone that's demanding a starting job necessarily, but someone that can offer them some depth for where I mean, yeah, DK gets hurt. Who are you throwing in? Like, is it Aiden Mizell who's caught two passes? And like maybe he makes a huge jump, but even for these guys, like without seeing in a game situation, they just don't know. So they want to make sure that they've got additional depth at spots like that. So I could see, even these positions that we're impressed with, wide receiver, corner, offensive line's gotten some help, so probably not so much there, but maybe more linebacker too, just because
Yeah.
of how young that group is and injured it's been. I could see some reinforcements coming at the spots that may surprise us.
So okay, a couple things then. So let's break this down because when you said buyer and sellers, I think of like MLB come trade deadline, right? You have your buyer and your seller. Your seller is somebody who's nowhere near the playoffs. Obviously, that buyer talk meaning they're going all in. Um, it's a little bit different for college football, but the second transfer portal is you're definitely going to kind of get a vibe of where teams are at. I don't think it's the same sell buy situation as it is for playoffs because
Right.
you're selling to get draft picks. We're just selling to make room. I would say like an Oregon team, if we
Right.
obviously have our Oregon channel, they're in a very sell heavy because I think they're like 10 plus over the scholarship limit. So they're in a good sell type of situation where we're at right, like you kind of said, we're in a little bit of both. We need to make some room, but we're also in a very aggressive situation where I like that because I think we're comfortable with what we have. But we're very particular. Now we know this is exactly what we need to get us where we want to be, which is a good place to be as long as we can execute on those things. So you are hearing some buzz then that those position groups anymore on the offensive line, not that we need anymore, but obviously we were always greedy. You know, if you want to throw another 5-star guy in there, I'm not going to complain, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think just with the additions they've already made, and especially the second year guys in Nige, Bryce, and Rod, it seems to me, just at least from a numbers perspective too, like they do have a lot of bodies on the
Okay.
offensive line, and it's a position where you can never have enough. Like you can have enough receivers, and sometimes
Sure.
you can have enough corners, but where you're five positions, got to go three deep in college. Yeah, I'm sure if the right one, especially I would think someone that's a little younger that they can continue to mold and not necessarily have to rush out there immediately or demand to start right now, I think they would probably accept that. But and I don't want to say necessarily like I'm banking on them taking a wide receiver or corner, but it's kind of hard for me to see where else, you know? Like there are positions where that you want to see these rising sophomores be the guy. So like will they want to mess with that? Will they want to potentially impact the what they've got going on there? I'm not sure. But at least off of numbers and the way experience kind of shakes out, I could see receiver and corner for sure.
Okay. And so just kind of keep the calmness over Gator Nation. Again, anything can happen. But I mean, we haven't really heard
Yeah.
anything crazy happening for the negatively on the portal side for us. We're here mainly positive. Again, we have to make room, so something's going to happen, but it's just the name of the game. I think that's something too. I think a lot of Gator fans, the casuals, are gonna have to get used to. That guys coming and going is gonna become more of the norm now. When before, if somebody left, you're like, shit's in shambles. Well, no, we have the ability to fill it now, so it's gonna be this opening closing door. And so we like you just said, we hope to see some guys leave. Hopefully, it's just the guys that we chose to leave or told to leave versus uh leaving on their own.
Right. The guys that because I mean those situations can be tricky, even the guys that are told to leave. But ultimately, the ones that where it's the best decision for them. I mean,
Sure.
hopefully these guys are smart enough, and I know money is ultimately a huge part of it. But like some players will probably should see the writing on the wall. Like again, I don't think it's a secret to anyone either that they're over the limit too. And I think Billy's even been kind of cognizant of that and speaking with us in the past. It's not a secret. They know that people are going to have to make moves, and I do think even paired with the opportunities that have been here in spring ball with the 30 some players or 25 to 30 that left, like there's tape. Now these players that might want to test the waters elsewhere that don't see too much going forward, but they were able to produce some plays in spring camp, get some reps. Now they have something to market themselves to.
Sure. Dave, you got anything?
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, I would expect like there to be people that leave to enter the portal as well, and like the old saying goes, the best availability or the best ability is availability, right? So if you're not available, as say in an Andy Jean situation or anything like that, of course he's upset, he's on the sideline, whatever. But not saying he's going to go in the portal. He might just like Florida, and he might want to stay. I mean, we've seen plenty of players not get a starting nod, like. I mean, look how long Jaquavian Frazier's has been here. Like he could have went into the portal a long time ago, and he's still here. So, I mean, you've got different scenarios of, I guess, for every person that's on that roster. But I mean, as long as spring portal period comes up, as long as you're able to replace whoever you lose with somebody maybe better or more experienced, I don't really think that that's an issue. I think a lot of people they do freak out when players start leaving the team. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, who are you going to replace him with, though? Like, I'm not like we're over the scholarship limit. I get that. So you're going to have people leave, and you won't be able to replace them. But at the same time, you're going to. I mean, and we've even talked about it. And I think even Billy Napier hinted at it, said they were going to still hit in the spring portal period anyway. And you got a couple of positions that probably need more players on it too. So, I mean, as far as it goes, like if you lose players in the portal and they weren't contributors anyway, so what did you really lose? You didn't really lose anything, right? Um, and in turn, I think that I don't know. I'm not that big of a guy that like just freaks out if somebody leaves in the portal. Of course, you don't want to lose to somebody like a Trevor Etienne or a Princely Human Milan or anything like that. That kind of looks a little bit bad on the program. Not really, but I mean the way that they left and what they said. But at the same time, like you're hearing
And
new
what's happened
players.
since they left?
Right. New players are coming in, though. They're talking about the new coaching staff, and you're starting to see more turnovers in practices. You're starting to see better improved play. You're starting to see better attitudes in the locker room. So, once again, what did you really miss? You didn't really miss anything. So, as far as like Gator Nation and everybody like kind of freaking out about the portal, I really don't care until I start seeing results on the field. That's when I start to freak out a little bit.